Thanks, Janet. Fantastic to be here today. Good morning to some of you. Good afternoon to some of you. It's one of those catch times during the day. As Janet said, I'm one of the service managers in the Ontario region. My staff oversee the operations of the Temporary Foreign Worker Program for Primary Ag. With me, I've got Daniel Sharmy and Nadine Williams. We're both Senior Program Development Officers within the program. For those of you that are returning employers or have been through our program in the past, their names might be familiar with you. They may have worked on your applications in the past. They may have answered some inquiries that you've had. But yeah, over the last little while, Janet and I have been speaking a lot, and Janet was thinking that it might be value added to have a little bit of a presentation to go through the rep and answer some questions alongside to make sure that everyone is comfortable on those pieces. Alongside me today, we do have some other guests. I see Stephen West is here. We also have Robinson Cartwright and David Hodges. I'm not sure if Stephen West needs an introduction, but Steve, do you want to introduce yourself at all?
Oh, hi, everybody. No, just glad to be a part of the session today. Steve West, Director of Sector Policy with the Temporary Foreign Worker Program in our national headquarters. Work very closely on a regular basis with Janet. Happy to be here to listen to the presentation, and I'll hand it back over to Thomas for more. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Robinson, would you like to do a mini introduction?
No, it's okay. It's Robinson Cartwright, manager. I work with Steve. Hi, Janet.
And David?
Hi there. Yeah, I'm just a senior policy analyst with under Rob and Steve. Been involved with the rep quite a bit. Happy to be here. Thanks.
Perfect. Okay. And that's all out of the way. Let's dive into the important stuff, what everyone came for. I'm going to hand off to Daniel Sharmy, who's going to run us through the presentation, and we'll be able to take some questions and hopefully give some good answers at the end of this for everyone. Take it away, Daniel.
Thanks, Thomas. So good morning, afternoon, everyone. As Thomas said, I'm going to be presenting a brief rundown of the Recognized Employer Pilot. Hopefully, after this presentation. Did I mute myself? I'm sorry. As I said, thank you for joining. The presentation is just to give a brief rundown of the Recognized Employer Pilot. We're going to be doing a question and answer as well afterwards. After the presentation and the question and answer period, hopefully everyone will have a better understanding of the Recognized Employer Pilot and, in essence, the Temporary Foreign Worker Program as well. We'll just dive in here. So the Recognized Employer Pilot was announced back in August of 2023 by the Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Official Languages. It's the REP, so Recognized Employer Pilot, I'm just going to be referring to as REP just to save my voice a little bit. So REP is a 3-year pilot program designed to be a more responsive to establish labor market shortages and to reduce the burden for returning employers who meet the high standards for wages, working and living conditions, and worker protections. Employers who regularly access the Temporary Foreign Worker Program and have no previous history of non-compliance are encouraged to apply to the pilot. Employment and Social Development Canada will complete an assessment of REP to test administrative efficiencies and inform in future programming. So that it will be reviewed after the okay, sorry, I just want to make sure I got it. So REP will, in essence, try to reduce the red tape by introducing longer labor market impact assessment validity periods of up to 36 months. The purpose of this is to enable recognized employers to better plan for their labor needs over a 3-year period and it reduces the number of LMI applications that would otherwise be needed to hire the same number of foreign workers. Recognized employers will also gain access to, we have a simplified LMI application to address future hiring needs. These simplified applications may be used to apply for any of the 84 designated rep occupations. These will also reduce the amount of information an employer needs to provide to receive a subsequent LMI approval. So if this is information that we already have in hand, it's just redundant to ask employers over and over again for the same information. The assessments for the simplified versions will be based on information previously provided and new information, normally focusing on work location, occupation, number of requested positions, wage, and working conditions. In regards to the validity periods, employers have the option to forecast their needs over a 3-year period of the pilot and potentially request all the workers that they would need within that period on just one LMIA instead of submitting in application after application after application for to fill their labor shortage needs. Under REP, longer than standard validity periods are provided up to 36 months, not exceeding December 31st, 2026. This date is just the proposed end date of the pilot. So at this time, that would be the most of the validity period would be allotted to for the recognized employers. Longer validity periods means employers can more efficiently manage worker employment start date or start times. Longer validity periods allow flexibility to provide LMI letters to their workers sooner without having to apply each year. And obviously, it just cuts a lot of the time frames here. And then the process also allows workers more time to apply for work permits. So obviously, the time frames regarding our program, our processing time frames as well with immigration, this just provides a shorter time frames in order to have a quicker turnaround time for the employers that have their workers up and running and working. The employment durations for each stream will remain the same throughout the pilot, meaning the length of the work term will not change. So, for example, agricultural workers are allotted an employment duration up to 2 years. So, depending on the stream, that the job durations will still be in line with our program requirements. The additional benefits for recognized employers will be an actual visual identifier on the foreign worker section in Job Bank that shows employers who are under the recognized status. So it's just kind of a little bit of a badge of honor that employers would be able to, in prospective workers would be able to see when they're looking for positions or jobs. Dual purpose LMIA. So employers can request to be considered for rep status at the same time that they apply for their LMIAs. If an employer has been denied rep status, they must wait a minimum of 3 months before they can apply again for rep status. The maximum employment duration applicable to existing program streams will remain. So as I stated before, so for the SOP, so the Seasonal Agriculture Worker Program, it's 8 months, 2 years for low wage, and 3 years for a high wage stream. So as I said, depending on the stream that the position lies in, it would dictate as to what the maximum duration we can provide. Existing program policies do not change for the assessment of REP. LMIAs, so that means housing inspections, recruitment requirements, prevailing wage. We still assess these requirements. So employers are still obligated to meet these requirements when they do come to their program, either for a dual or to their first application or for any subsequent LMIAs that they are submitting in. So the simplified REP LMIA applications address future hiring needs. So it will be assessed based on a combination of the information previously provided and new information provided by the recognized employer. In a simplified LMIA, most of the sections will be pre-filled by the department using the information from previous LMIAs. Employers will only be needed to answer a few sections pertaining to the job offer in cases where they have applied for an occupation in the past. In cases where there is no application history for the requested position, more information may be required. However, the simplified LMIA is less onerous than a standard LMIA application. So REP is for employers who meet the highest standards. So what this means is employers with no history of the foreign worker program being non-compliant. To determine if employers meet the highest standards are eligible for REP, the employer's inspection history with the foreign worker program will be reviewed, and or the employer's history, LMI history as well. Employers may be ineligible for REP if they have received a negative decision on the basis of inadequate housing reports, worker protections, working conditions, wages. They've been found non-compliant, or there's significant or credible allegations that has been received against the employer for putting the health and safety of the foreign workers at risk. And so continuing regarding the what we consider high standards and for commitments regarding the REP. In exchange for longer validity periods under REP, recognized employers must commit to the following. So they must participate in random REP check-ins, undertake annual wage reviews to ensure that the foreign workers are receiving the most current prevailing wage for the occupation and work location where they are employed. So normally a lot of these wage updates do occur once a time every year or every few years. So we just want to make sure that the foreign workers are being paid as to what the wages are at the time that the worker is employed. They continue to make reasonable efforts to hire Canadians and or permanent residents through ongoing recruitment efforts. So there's still the effort of the employers to transition the workforce to maybe more Canadians and permanent residents and less reliance on foreign workers. And they have to complete annual housing inspection reports of employer provided accommodations, when required, obviously when they are providing accommodations to workers, and address any deficiencies or conditions imposed on the annual inspection, and to ensure compliance with applicable provincial, territorial, or municipal housing standards before the foreign workers arrive. So we just obviously want to make sure that the working conditions and the living conditions are, per our requirements before foreign workers are there working and living on site. Employers must also continue to adhere to the foreign worker program's requirements and be responsible for fulfilling their obligations under the LMIAs, including that ensuring the foreign workers have adequate health and workplace safety insurance, and that foreign workers are receiving full-time work. So I did mention the REP check-ins. So what that means is employers will be selected at random for REP specific check-ins. These check-ins will essentially be a verification of the REP commitments, where employers will be required to confirm the conditions. So as I said previously, prevailing wage review, ongoing recruitment, working conditions, completed housing inspection reports are being met. These check-ins are projected to begin in 2025 and will be used to evaluate the pilot. Consequences of non-compliance with program conditions are the same under REP and the the foreign worker program, and are coordinated. So just to give you an idea of the timelines, to manage applications intake volumes and ensure that sufficient resources are available to meet the expected employer demands, a phased approach was initiated for the REP program. So back in September, the first set of stream and applications that we were accepting were related to the agricultural program. So the agricultural program employers intake to align with the peak agricultural application timing for the following season. So obviously the influx of applications for agricultural came at a certain period to forecast for their demand, their labor shortages for the upcoming year. Beginning in January of this year, intake for all other designated occupations was taking place. Projected for September of 2024, intake for rep closes and the dual purpose application to become a recognized employer would cease to be available. And as I said, the proposed end date for rep is expected to be at the end of 2026. So as I said, we're going to have a question and answer period after I finish here. But we do have resources available to employers. I'm sure probably a number of you have called in the Employer Contact Center. As you can see, the hours of operation that they're available, they'll be able to answer normally, generalized questions regarding, the program itself and all the related streams. Obviously, if there's anything that they're unable to, they'll normally escalate it where, someone like myself may be in contact with you to ask or to answer any questions that may not be answered at that time. Other than that, that's the end of my presentation here. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, and I'll give it back to you, Thomas.
Perfect. Thanks, Daniel. Great job. Just for everyone's awareness, if you're able to access the chat, we've put our email address.
So if more people keep joining, I will try to continue to admit them as I'm talking. And if you have anything you need addressed, like this is, just us and it's informal group, unmute yourself and speak up, or I'll try and stop, before we go on to the next section with Q&A as well. So yeah, so anyway, so that was really great that we were able to get their help with that tech briefing. And yeah, like the slides and everything will be sent out afterwards. So welcome to the rest of the presentation, which we're going to do a summary, a little bit of what we heard, why I think the Recognized Employer Program is important now. It didn't offer a lot of benefits before, but now it's sort of a counter to some of the changes that are happening. And also we'll go through work permits, and the web form has changed. I think it was Anna that alerted me to it in the fall. Anything that changes, you guys just keep telling me, and then we'll do more research and update people as things change, because a lot of things are changing with this program right now. So welcome to the webinar here. And we had our Service Canada section, the first half hour. Then now we're going to go into a few of the changes that have already affected the program. And then we're going to be talking about the housing survey that we've done and sort of what's happening on that. And it's sort of something where you really need to think through to mitigate. Each farm needs to think through what you need to do to mitigate your own risks. Work permit support with IRCC, more work permit application tips, the new program that I need you guys to provide me some consultation feedback. I haven't done a survey for, but whatever you guys can, we will continue to present to the department if you're seeing issues. And S211, we'll just touch on that briefly. I've sent out a lot on that since the board meeting as information becomes available. And if anybody's interested, there's an agriculture sort of a call or webinar about it tomorrow, and I can try and get you guys admitted to it if you're interested, but you need to tell me. And then farm cases, what we need to do to continue to work together and how I can continue to support you. So yeah, there's a lot of changes been happening with the program, and a lot of it is they're really worried about housing shortages, increasing the price of rent. And unfortunately, yeah, the politicians are using the temporary foreign worker program as a bit of a scapegoat. You can see that sometimes daily in the last month or so, where the ministers and the prime minister are, pointing to the temporary foreign worker program when they're talking about the price of housing, where we have information showing that it is a myth, because our workers are comfortably settled in the rural areas, sparsely populated areas. It's really the issue really is the international students. They in the city centers, they've let a lot in, like over 1 million a year now. So but it's like they're lumping the two programs together, even though the one's out of IRCC. So these are challenges. Things are changing at the program. Just to give everyone a heads up, yeah, politically it's not stable again. Like, we're sort of back at the beginning, which is when I started with Canadian Ag HR Council and mushrooms. So we got to like sort of aggressively advocate for what you guys need to try and retain as much stability as possible. So yeah, the main thing that's changed and affecting primary ag is the 6-month validity. And this was, I guess, what was used actually before COVID. So for everyone, including agriculture. But, having that 1 year really gave a lot more stability. We know that, and they're not willing to change that. We've had 2 calls with them on it, and they're just not willing to change. They want that 6-month validity because they're trying to squeeze the temporary foreign worker program and have people return home. That is what it is about. So the recognized employer program that previously exists when they started making all these changes is actually now a really good option, because if you get accepted, even if it's not quite the 3 years, because it's cutting off in 2026, whatever it is, it'll give you almost 3 years, almost 36 months of sort of a cushion period, where not only do you have a full LMIA valid for as many spots as you get approved for, but I think it will also cushion maybe other changes that are happening to the program, because right now we don't have a primary ag cap. We've never had that in agriculture. And I think if they move that direct, like what you asked, Tina, if they move to that, I think the farms group will flip out, and they know that. So they're not. But, the minister was musing about it on the media like this week or last week. So like, he's asked, will the cap apply to primary agriculture? Well, maybe not at this point. Like, that's not really a solid answer. So I think as many as we can get into the REP as possible is going to help stabilize the program for those farms that get accepted. That's what I'm thinking, like, with my own analysis at this point. So the things that they talked about, like, but not everybody, we've had others join now that weren't at the first part of the webinar with the Service Canada. Basically, some things are different for agriculture stream. Yeah, it's not related to the 2-year contract. That stays the same. For the REP, it's like you go through the LMIA, apply in a normal way. You're going to see a box to apply. If you're refused, and you need to not apply for 3 months. The other things that we've learned is if you are refused, it's gonna come back as duration 6 months. That's how you know you're refused. So it's kind of a weird thing. There's nothing in the email. It is on page 5 of the LMIA. So like, I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. If you have an LMIA renewal coming up, you can sort of think through, you can sort of apply 6 months in advance. So like what you were saying, Tatiana, it's like, if you have one coming up, but it's not coming up to the fall, and the REP pilot ends in September 15th, 16th, then try and apply earlier if you can, but 6 months, if it's 7 months, then they're not going to accept it, is what Thomas told me on another call when I asked. So after this, we're all done here. I did get a recognized employer program Q&A out of them. So it's 8 pages. It will hopefully answer more questions that you guys are needing answers. So this is just like page 1 and 2 of it. So that was good. It wasn't really extreme specific. So some of the tips we are talking about aren't in there. So with the 2-year contract, yeah, so that's the key thing. It's your renewals and your incoming. So this is like, different than the SOP because you have to include your renewals as part of it as well. At the end of the 2-year contract, which is going to end before the 3-year period, then you just add their names to the rep for those other spaces. So it's just like an adding name mechanism. And then you use the simple LMIA option if you're like, oh, I needed an additional 10 or 20 or 30 workers, whatever it is, because others quit and, or we had an expansion, whatever it is. That's what the simple LMIA. And then they're not, like, their whole assessment process seems to be a bit more, not as like, they don't go through every single detail with the simple LMIA. So that's my understanding of it, how it works, and they don't specifically explain that. So this is basically when you get approved. Yeah, look on page 5 of your LMIA, and when you get approved, it looks something like this. So this is just an example, a screenshot we took. This is what successful one will be like, and you'll see a almost 36-month duration. So that's how you know you got it. If you don't get it, if you're like, it comes back with 6 months, then you basically look at page 5 and you're going to see something like this. And this is when you're not successful, it's going to say this. So what I want to say is, like, if you want to get the rep and you don't despair. And we can help you with it. But the main thing is, do not apply for 3 months. Do not reapply for 3 months. Because if you do keep applying for a rep, they'll just keep sending it back with 6 months duration. And every time, it'll say this, or they won't even say anything. They won't say anything. They'll send this to you the first time on page 5, and then every other one will be 6 months. And you'll be like, what's going on? Like, I keep getting, 6 months. I don't understand. I've applied 10 times. No. Don't apply for 3 months. So this is something we're learning through experience with some of the cases. So this is our issue. This is what we're finding. The issue is this has been brought up at the board meeting, and I know through cases from the farms, this has been going on for a while. We are getting a little bit targeted with these vulnerable open work permits, which are complaint-based audits. So when that happens, they always say it's going to be a quicker process for those, but it never is. And those go on forever. And then we already know they're holding up LMIAs, name changes, renewals, but now they're holding up recognized employer program applications as well. And we just got this data back like about 2 weeks ago. So I shared this with the CMGA board as well. We have, you can see in the data, it's like they sent us the full spreadsheet, Immigration Canada, that there is an uptick in false cases. They're fake cases from workers that they're not giving the open work permit to because they know that the employer, there was nothing wrong, like the worker made it up because they're trying to get these open work permits. So we've asked them, well, what are you doing about this? Like, do you have any plans to, like, sort of, the worker can't must leave Canada and must not apply again for 5 years? Like, is there anything that is sort of monitoring this? Will there be punishment for fake claims? And they said no, because that goes against the intent of this. So we're just sort of disagreeing with it, but they're not listening. At least we have the data now to take to the minister and to explain what's going on with this. So we know this is happening. This kind of blew my mind. In 2024, there's already been 74% fake cases from general farm workers for, I think it's agricultural stream. So we know this is happening, and then it's holding up our reps. So the main thing with these reps that I can help you process-wise to get around this, to help you get the rep, is you need to save your audit and compliance letters. And I think we need to start doing that again. Like, we're going to do an industry letter on a, government relations perspective with the minister about this, but we need to try and combat this on a case-by-case basis at the same time. So what you need to do is save your compliance letter. Save those ones that you get back from your auditor that says your farm is cleared. Save them. And we're going to probably need to start using them, for these maybe the LMIAs and the name changes as well, if this is an issue, but also for the rep. Because that's what they're looking at. They're looking at your integrity audit data. And so the tip I got from Thomas is that not only your last compliance letter that says your farm is cleared, you need to sort of go through it and maybe, like he said, 5 years. So start to save all those letters in one file. And I would even put them in, create a spreadsheet and track the comments in the letter. So that was the other tip I got from Thomas. Because if you have a compliance letter that says no problems, say no comment. But if you had a letter that had a comment in it, that's what they're looking at for this rep. So it's good to be aware where your farm is at with all this compliance stuff, because I know all our farms have had so many compliance letters and audits because we have so many renewals, but also because we're getting targeted with these complaint-based audits. So that's my recommendation, because if you do that, then do your rep, and if you see anything in there that's issues, little notes within your compliance, your final letter, highlight that to me. And then when you apply for the rep, what Thomas has said is we can, apply for your rep normally, and then we're going to send it to Thomas to monitor. So this is going to help, achieve success. And if you had a little comment in there, then you can tell me, and we can tell Thomas, and we can, brief them on this, but it really wasn't a problem, or whatever the case is. So it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. But if you do this process, this is going to help everyone to have a lot better chance of achieving REP, the Recognized Employer Program. So I think that's the end of this section. Any questions? So you can put it again in the chat. I don't know if I have access to the chat. Or speak out. Okay, pretty quiet bunch. You had a lot more questions for Service Canada, guys. So, but that's how we can help you sort of navigate the rep. If you've had an issue or if you have questions, we can help achieve success, because I think it's going to be your best bet to sort of have a little umbrella of stability as this program. We don't know what they're going to do next. So that's my recommendation. I want to help as many farms as possible now achieve the Recognized Employer Program, because I think it's going to help. Okay, so the next thing here is the survey. Thank you everyone for submitting answers. And so we still have this sort of hanging over our head with this empty space issue for our workers that are living on their own. I noticed that they did unfortunately make some sort of change on the website. The minister's office said they were going to hold off and wait for our surveys. I'm waiting to get more industry data before we send the official survey information to the minister's office, and The other groups are not moving that quickly, unfortunately, although I'm working with them to complete surveys. Anyways, so it's sort of a gray area still. They are threatening they're going to send an email out to everybody. They told that to the CFA. They haven't yet. So these are the groups that they are doing surveys. This is taking a long time. This is our proposed process, like, so we can, get back to this normal waiver that they were accepting for over 5 years, and lots of workers live on their own now. They haven't accepted this yet. So I do think we're going to win, but it's just sort of a gray zone and a little bit of instability with this as we continue to advocate on this. So this is what we got back with the survey. So like out of only 9 mushroom farms, yeah, we have a lot that are living on their own. And, we don't know how this is going to roll out if they send the email out to the farms and to the, it would go also to the officers. But we did know last year we had one farm that encountered this, and it was a real issue, and they had to reduce their LMIA. So yeah, it was really not good. But then they reapplied, and then they accepted it. So it's just sort of, it depends on the officer. When the email goes out, I don't know how it's all going to work then. So this is it's just a gray zone area. So we did bring this up. That was the email I sent out at Agriculture Committee, where we straight up told the politicians this is happening. We think it's really bad policy, both for production purposes, but also for the community, like taking housing away. It doesn't make sense. It's something that does not make sense. And we will continue to advocate and try and get it to make sense with those proposed solutions that we've circulated many times. So on that basis, like, we figured, like, with 4 people per house, I thought that was a good way just of explaining it to the politicians. So we would need about 190 empty apartments and houses across Canada. And like on that basis, at the Agriculture Committee, we informed them it could be as high as 1,000 empty houses for all of agriculture. Based on this is only 9 farms, and we have other surveys in progress. So we've informed them of that, and we've asked for another meeting with the minister's office and the parliamentary secretary, and we'll continue to advocate. So one of the things as a next step on a government relations perspective, and so people, please think about this and tell me what you think. Reply, like, ask your CEOs and your farm managers. I would love to come to a farm, and I would love to take a picture of maybe empty housing that's fully furnished that you have to keep. If whoever is doing that still, because I know some people had some housing left from COVID. Like, this is also ridiculous. We had hotel policies during COVID, and like now we can't use those hotel policies if the worker wants to come back. So in this survey, we also had the majority of the farms, not all of them, but the majority of the farms said that they would consider like a 10% retention would make sense than 100% retention for all the workers living on their own. So we have that little bit in our back pocket, although we don't have 100% agreement with all the farms. But like that could be something that we could offer, but like, it's just like, we're not at that stage of discussion because they're just like, no, at this point. So we're going to continue to advocate, publicly as well. So hopefully we'll get some media in the near future. But we would like to, if anyone's got empty housing, like I'm here in Ontario, especially, I can drive out and maybe do a little video and some pictures. And that might help us take it to the next level, both with the minister's office, and then we can show the media, like, explain it even more than Ryan did at the committee meeting, which I thought was excellent how he explained it. So I do see a question here. Okay, to add the 5-year compliance letters with the rep application. Yes, Tina. So that's what I'm suggesting is track it. And I don't know if we need to include every single compliance letter, but we need to sort of think about that. We need to sort of, yeah, start to like when we send it to Thomas, send him the compliance letter so then he can track it. Oh, thanks, Tatiana. That's wonderful if I could come out and take some pictures and some videos to help take this housing issue to the next level. That would be great. Yeah, so that's what I'm suggesting regarding the compliance letters. Definitely track them, put them in a folder, and then if one had a little writing, maybe that's the one we sent to Thomas. You know, or you had like 2 years of a good compliance letter, so you've got 2 really good letters with no writing, maybe send him both of those. Yeah, we got to track it and send it to Thomas to help us get through this if there are any questions. Okay, so go on to the next slide if I can. So we have new data, like we've got new tools now to advocate on this crazy housing waiver issue with our workers living on their own. We've got new data showing, you know, the workers are not vulnerable. There's over 94% compliance with the entire program with all their inspections. We have new industry data showing that there's a campaign, basically, like there's an uptick with the workers abusing, some workers abusing the system, and that's causing us, you know, issues. And we have, they're not vulnerable. Like this is what we need to demonstrate. And we've got this excellent new PowerPoint presentation. If you want to have a meeting with your MP about this, Ryan's put together this fantastic deck where we made little icons and little arrows, like they're like little infographics, which basically, number one, explains the program as it exists and similarities to low wage stream that have the 30% rule for affordable housing, and how, you know, we need flexibility for our workers. And I thank you in the surveys, and I've been using those to advocate comments like, you know, what do we do with the baby and grandma? They can't stay in the employer housing, and the family wants to be together. We can't force them into the employer housing. You know, stuff like that. It was really helpful to show that we have very different needs with pregnant workers, babies, extended family, and we're using all of this to explain this. And so this presentation, I think, would be very good if people want to advocate, and if we get some pictures and video of empty housing, then we've got a complete package for the MPs. You can meet with your you know, your own local MP to explain this, and then we can roll this out in the media as well. And because sometimes this government, if they see it in the media, then they understand it better, is what everybody tells me, and it's true. That's what we've noticed as well. Okay, any questions on the housing waiver issue? Thank you everyone for participating. And I will call you Tatiana. That's really, really fantastic. Okay, so the web form has changed. And yeah, like I said, thank you, Anna, for informing me of that. So all of this you've seen, you know, this is all the same. So it's like, these are the kind of documents you need to capture and save yourself so we can present the case in the web form and then present it to our contact at IRCC. And we have a new contact there as well. Yeah, so you need, you know, like save the work permit that originally went, that it was submitted, if you got an email back regarding it, everything's the same with that. And then track all this in that spreadsheet. That makes it really easy for I think our cases get dealt with a lot easier when we submit it with these with the spreadsheet, because they can see the UCI, the work permit number, the LMIA number, and it's like, even though we do all these attachments, because most of ours are like more than one. So it's really important, like, to sort of put this all together. We get our cases dealt relatively quickly, once they go to, you know, the support usually is what we've found. So yeah, you can do this. The key thing is we're not supposed to say we're requesting expedited work permits because they say they're not allowed to do that. But it's like if it's exceeded normal processing times, and always it has by the time, you know, we send this to them, that's key. Like we have a primary processing time. We're supposed to be prioritized, and if it's exceeded normal processing times, then we can, like, we always claim undue hardship. And
What is our processing time for ag? Because I see the general number online for just general applications, but do we have like a number where, like, hey, if it's beyond 30 days to 45 days, we should contact them?
yeah, there isn't really one like on the website, right? But maybe somebody from Highland could speak up as well. But generally, if it's gone longer than, let's say, I don't know, 2 to 3 months, I would, or if it's something urgent. If it's something urgent, like you have a worker, one case we had a worker that had to go back for a funeral, you know, we can do it for urgent. Or if it's like generally, for the other farms, I think it's been about 3 months is what I find. Like if it's like beyond 3 months, like something's stuck, then we put forward, like, you know, package it up, send it. Yeah, 3 months is usually for especially renewals. We can't seem to get them to go beyond the 3 months at this point. They're a little bit, we are running 4 months for average of renewals. That's what Anna just said. Yeah, so if it's going longer than, like, so yeah, that's why you have to get your LMIA in 6 months. And then the if your work permit is taking longer than 4 months, then contact me. And yeah, then we'd undo hardship, you know, all of the things we need to do. So, but this web form is key. Like, this is like, I feel like I'm harassing you guys. I know you hate the web form. I hate it too. It's ridiculous. But if we don't do it first, then immediately they ask. And Tony knows, like, it was during the board meeting, I sent a case, and they didn't look at the attachments or the email, and they were like, put it in the web form. I'm like, exactly, we already put it in the web form. Thank you. It's in the web form. And then we can send that as just, there's another comment here. When using undue hardship in web forms, please provide a bit of context to the hardship others of you know. Yes. So that's also what we do, is like we say, we want a few bullets in there. Like, why is it an undue hardship? It's labor shortage. You know, the worker has to go home to see the for the funeral of the family member, like whatever it is. And so the web form, yeah, it's click on other. This is what I've been told. Martine's on, she's an immigration consultant, so correct me, but this is what I was told by another one of our consultants we work with. So click on other. If you go to this link, which you'll get in the PowerPoint, then go to other. And yeah, you're writing on behalf of the principal applicant. So these are the new little prompts to help you get into the right section. So it all seems to be on one page now. It's not like it was like on multiple, you had to click a bunch more times. And you got to put your info in. And then you're going to put the worker's info in. And so the worker is the principal applicant, and you want to apply for temporary residence. Yeah, so this is the part with Martine, the fantastic immigration consultant that's on the line right now with us. You want to fill in this with like your sort of bullets of what the issue is. And then I always put undue hardship at the very top. Primary agriculture as well, to try and get their attention. And then all your documents that we're talking about, your spreadsheets and the work permits, if you got some like a email back that they're working on it or whatever you have, and then your web form receipt, like when you won't have it for this, but it needs to come to me, your web form receipt. So all your attachments are, this is the part where you upload it. So it all seems to be more on one page now. So yeah, so these are the documents again. And key authorization, this IMM 5475, they're hyper vigilant and won't even reply to the email if that's not attached. Like even when I send it to the person that we're getting help from, they need to have that representative form, both in this web form and also, you know, what I attach. So yeah, so I always feel like I'm harassing you guys about this web form and that representative form, but they will not look at it unless those two things are filled out. Yeah, so you know, save this kind of a receipt. And that's what I need with all the same stuff, like the little information that you had in the subject and all the documents that you put in it. Right, so that's just a repeat of the same slide, just a summary review. I know it's a lot of work, but that's how I can get you guys the cases looked at and move forward. If without this, they just ignore what we're asking. There you go. So any more questions about the work permits and the web forms? I know we have several cases on the go right now with quite a few of the farms, so just keep them coming. And we'll keep moving it forward that way. So just a couple other tips, and you guys know this. Yeah, there's been knock code changes, like they're saying our general farm workers are now farm machinery operators. So that's just the way it is. And what I was told, this doesn't work for the majority of farms, but if you can put your knock code in the work permit application on number 4, the knock code, then they will prioritize it. So all of our other applications, that's why our application is taking 4 months. If your knock code's not there, then they can't find your work permit and they're not prioritizing you. That's what I've been told. So it's very annoying. We keep asking them to add 4B or 4A for the knock code beside it, but they haven't yet. And it might take a change of government to get the form to change, which would be awesome, because then we would be prioritized. So for those that can, if you can put the knock code in there, do it, because you will get prioritized. You'll probably get under 4 months then.
Janet?
Go ahead.
If I can say, we are putting the knock code in there and our work permit renewals are still taking 4 months.
Oh God. Good to know. Thank you, Anna.
It's not working.
Okay, so yeah, if you want to get any of those, like it's taking 4 months and you're not coming through,
Yeah.
and then we could send it to this work permit specialist we have now supporting us, we can do that. And we could say, we were told to do this and that they'd be prioritized, and they're not, you know, like, so I put that little policy note, you know, supporting your case.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we can do that if you need that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I've sent this presentation out to everybody a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when they gave us a industry reps a tech briefing on it. And like, if you guys want a tech briefing on, we can do that as well. So I haven't included the full you know, what they're working on and what's coming at this point in time. Because you already have the PowerPoint, but I took some of the highlights into one slide here and then a couple slides just to sort of emphasize some of the more positive aspects. So yeah, they're really happy now on the SOP program, not the Extreme. We don't know why, but they really want to do a bunch more MOUs with the embassies. They think it provides more safety for recruitment purposes, because they know in some of these countries, the third-party recruiters are not maybe the best always. They're worried about it. I think that's what one of the things it is. And then they want the embassies, like with the SOP countries, to sort of help police it with, the employers, like, because sometimes those embassies for the SOP, they go on the farms once a year for each farm to visit with their Mexican workers and stuff like that. So I think they did this politically because they were basically they were basically they're cutting down on immigration in little ways, not really for mass immigration or refugees yet, but they've cut out the visa for the Mexico, and Mexico's not happy. So they were trying to like give them a bit of a, okay, we're gonna give you guys access to those year round now. Like that should make you happy. I think that's what's happening. So none of it makes a lot of sense to us, and we keep saying that, and we'll continue to advocate for that, but that's why we need input from you guys. So for countries that don't have a bilateral, or maybe you already have the Mexican worker and you don't want to use the bilateral, we're not sure how that's going to work, but there's an open source category, and that's what's going to be for the workers that are not part of bilaterals. So we have no idea what this is going to mean, if it's going to be extra criteria. They haven't said anything about this, but that's what they're calling it at this point. The sector specific, they want sector specific work permits. They do not want the employer tied work permits. And so we've known this. We've already, fought and won this in 2017. So we're just going to have to we'll resend them our research on this again. But, give me your opinions about this. That will help. Fresh new opinions, and we'll add it to our report. They were going to move to market-based wages, which, is kind of weird because the NCL is not connected to the prevailing wage. And I think they want us to use straight up prevailing wage, which Mushrooms was doing up until last year, where they split us out with the others to give us a little bit more flexibility for some of the weird prevailing wage issues. So this is an issue because their prevailing wage really sucks within the job bank. It's not accurate. So we've got to really keep an eye on this, what they're doing. I don't think the farms people will be in favor of this, and we'll see what happens. So for housing, I thought they'd be going to free housing model, which is the SOP, because they were telling us they want all the rules like the SOP. But in the actual presentation, they're saying two things. They're saying that both that, they want to increase, make it better housing, blah, 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 which is always usually direct against the bunk houses. But then they were saying they want it to be a gradual approach, so the price that the farms can charge the workers increases. So I was surprised to see that. I don't really know how serious they are about it, but it is in the PowerPoint. And again, I don't think the farms people are going to be in favor of that, but it is in the PowerPoint. So if they do that, it's sort of what we've been asking for, but not really quick enough for that. So anyways, so I have another question here from Gary. We do put NOC codes with all our WP renewals, but they still are not prioritizing. So that's another farm reporting the same. So, okay, I'll report that back to them because, we'll just keep giving them feedback on these kind of things that they're not improving. So this is an actual slide from the deck. So I just pulled out this as an example. So these are the transitional things that they are wanting to change: wages, deductions, employer providing housing. So updated housing requirements, like that could mean like Wi-Fi, there's always these weird things. So we'll just have to really keep an eye on that. They haven't given us any details yet. And anyways, so that's sort of what they're talking about. And then this slide I thought was interesting because it indicates that they're really not going to full implementation until 2027 and even 2026 with this transitional, and we'll have an election before then. So that gave me a bit of hope because this is going to be a long rollout. They claim that they're looking for input, so we'll provide reports to them. So that's why I need your feedback. I'm also asking, we asked Brian and I asked, I don't know if I have that on the slide here. Yeah, on the call, we were saying we want a thorough consultation like 2017 where they meet with the farmers in each province. That was a really good process where they got the feedback they needed to sort of not do some crazy stuff they were planning then. And we were also saying we would like to see an impact assessment, you know, on the cost of housing and the price of food. That your changes are not going to do that, you know, impact that. But I was basically, you know, the thorough consultation was sort of lukewarm. I don't think they're going to do it unless the politicians tell them. And the impact assessment, they're not doing it unless the politicians tell them. And then number 3, we were saying like we need some support with these year-round permanent, the transition, like what we were just telling Steve West. I kind of got that in there, if you notice, for the you know, the Q&A, like, because this is we're having legitimate questions, and it's not, they always like to say it's IRCC and not do anything, but it's the transition between the two, and that's what they're not wanting to acknowledge. So yeah, we asked, and they said they have no plans within this program to carve out a piece for the permanent full-time with the things that we need. That's what they told us. So we will report that to the politicians, because I think to develop a whole new program and not have that is a huge mistake. So yeah, send me your feedback. We need it to keep asking the right questions and to keep you know, advocating for what you guys need in the program to have a stable program with however this settles out. Any questions? I'm just seeing if there's any meeting. Nothing else in the chat. So yeah, if you need me to resend that out again, just let me know, the full PowerPoint. Or if you want a tech briefing from Steve West on it, let me know. We can ask for it. I'm sure they'll do it if we ask. So this, I don't know, sometimes it's different departments within the farm that are working on this. But this is just sort of crept up on us. And I thank one of the farms that brought it forward to us as a question. So we did the research. And so I provided within this, like I've sent this out to you guys, and we've had a tech briefing since then. So these are the links, like to do the reporting, read out the legislation. So every farm will be different. So you have to go through to figure out if this applies to your farm. And I would suggest consulting with your legal teams on it as well. Like I said, we do have a call on this with Agriculture Canada tomorrow. So if anybody wants to be included, like email me and I'll try and get you added to that call. I might be able to just send you the calendar invite, which I just got today. Yeah, so we asked for an extension and it's sent to the Minister of Public Safety. So we found out in the tech briefing that we had last week that they will not give an extension because they say the legislation won't allow them. But the key part, which was extremely interesting, is they said that they're not going to work on compliance this year. They're going to be work on education. And they know that's because nobody really knows about this except the few people like you guys do now. And I had to do my due diligence to inform you because we had one of the farms ask about this. But otherwise, every meat processing company I've asked in Canada, and the majority of them are foreign owned and they have a lot of workers, like nobody knows about this. Nobody. So yeah, it's a very strange private members bill. It's now on the public safety website. I think it's the wrong department. It should be with industry or Ag Canada, and that's what I'm going to tell Ag Canada tomorrow. But it is what it is. I don't like it, but other countries do it as well. They track these kind of things, and so that's what we pointed out to. We pointed this out within the tech briefing. We said, you know, probably you should be looking at the other standards in the other countries and not make it, you know, apply to so many here in Canada. Like, you know, and it all goes to this email that, you know, who knows if they're even going to open it. You know, it just like, You should have, like, because some farms are, like in other countries, they're like, it has to be 500 or 1,000 employees, or like, it's all different criteria. They've made it way more here, and because it's a private members bill. Like, I've never seen a private members bill like this get popped up on a public safety website. It's not a good situation, but again, it's sort of a sign of having an NDP Liberal coalition, like where we're seeing kind of odd legislation things that are difficult to comply with. So anyway, so they told us that, yeah, that was the key part I thought was new information, that they're not going to be looking at compliance this year. They're going to be looking at education. So you should report that to your legal teams as well. And with a lot of this sort of, which I consider overreach and over-regulation for you guys, because I feel bad you have to deal with all this stuff. Ryan had some good sort of tips where he said, like in the Ontario government, before the change of the Kathleen Wynne government, there was some very strange things that were happening for agriculture. And then they had an election, and then a lot of the things, they just sort of went away. So these things happen when you have a change of government and a new perspective. But at this point, it is what it is. But I'll do the best. If you have more questions, I'll take notes on the Ag Canada, and if anything new comes out of it, we'll let the farms know. So this is the really excellent information that I've been for contact information I was wanting to inform you about. This is fantastic that not only do we have Thomas now, he is like the head Service Canada guy for Ontario, but he's gonna Ag Stream. And so this is like, we've sort of tapped into the Toronto, what I would call the Tiger team that works on the Ag Stream LMIAs. And in the past, we always had really good relationship with Katie Alexander, and she's been gone for a long time, who was our Ottawa contact. But Thomas has been assigned to us from the minister. That's who did, who led started the webinar with them earlier. And yeah, because we were asking questions and we were like, why can't we get help on this? And we informed the minister's office we need help on the Recognized Employer Program, and he was assigned to us. So this is awesome. And then work permits, we've had a new person assigned. She is actually from the global talent stream. So, every other sector has this global talent stream where they're supposed to do their work permits in 10 days, except agriculture. And we've always said, why can't we get the service, why can't we get the 10-day work permits and the service? Because like we need help for agriculture. And they're always like, oh yeah. But this person was assigned, she's from the global talent stream, and she's helping us because IRCC in Ottawa has assigned us to her. So it's like, we are the first primary agriculture that is now working with the global talent service team, which it's absolutely fantastic that we have sort of a white glove service, like what Thomas said, with the work permits now. But we need to get them in that work permit portal. So I don't know yet. I've only sent her 1 or 2 cases, and I don't know. You guys need to keep me informed if these cases get resolved or they don't, because I won't know unless you tell me. And then if they don't, we can circle back and ask her again. I know the lady that helped us before, her name was Joanna. She helped us for about a year. She was directly in the department, and she's got a new job. She just told me. So she was nice enough to hand us off to this lady before she moved on to another part of IRCC. So yeah, so it's like, this is really good. So save this slide when you get it, and keep a hold of this contact information, because this is the bat lines that we need to get cases resolved. And I can advocate for you, but like if anything ever happens to me, like I want you guys to have this contact information too. So keep the cases coming. Yeah, and if we focus on Recognized Employer Program right now, we can get as many accepted as possible for the September deadline. And yeah, so here's if we get really crazy stuff, we can always reach out to our immigration consultants and Martine, who is on the call here again, and she can help you also with work permits applications, LMIAs, you know, what's needed if you have volume and you need support. Yeah, so these are just 3. There's more. I have that one page, or I'll send that out again, where I have one more added. So these are sort of ag stream specialists that I would recommend that I talk to on a regular basis, get advice from them, but also, you know, include them on things like this so that this will help them know the latest on the ag stream. So that's why Martina's on the call right now. So any questions to finish up here? So I think we've went over time, but that's like we allowed the Service Canada over half an hour. So it wasn't just that I'm slow. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining. If you have any final questions, just unmute yourself or send me a chat. Well, that's Martine. Thank you, Martine, for joining us. Thank you.
Just wanted to say thank you, Janet, for everything. Very informative.
Oh, good. Thank you, Anna. And I know it's a lot and some of it's a repeat, but yeah, it's just sort of an update and the latest on the Recognized Employer Program. I thought that was important to get that out to you guys as a solution now to this validity issue with the 6 months. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, everyone. Any questions, reach out to me anytime.
Thanks, Janet.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, you too.
What does it take to pick 150,000 tons of mushrooms each year? It takes passion, dedication, and hard work.
I feel proud.
We're proud of our fresh Canadian mushrooms that feed your immune system. And we're very proud of our essential farm workers who harvest and package food for you. We've released 8 job profiles on our Mushroom Jobs portal, a recruitment package highlighting quality jobs and careers, occupation progression, and competitive wages. On the farm, we have entry-level to management jobs, including mushroom harvesters, supervisors, packaging, general farm workers, health and safety, human resources, growers, and farm managers. Step up to our plate. Mushroom farms have a career for you. We've launched a mushroom workforce toolbox to support farmers on emerging issues, and also launched an employer training hub to support good quality HR management on our farms. The Canadian Mushroom Growers Association wants to thank Canadian farmers and thank our workers for feeding Canada and the world. And we want to thank you.
Thank you for buying Canadian mushrooms.